So we have a Cub Cadet here, and the customer said that it was hard to turn over. He put a new battery, a new starter on it. When he did get it to turn over, it would pretend to start and then backfire and die. So when I got it, I didn't have a battery in it, so I put a battery in it, and same thing happened to me. It would start to start, you know, kind of start. It was hard to start, I should say that. And then I would turn the flywheel by hand, then I turn the key, I could get it to go, it would backfire and then wouldn't start. So I figured there was a valve problem. Now I apologize that I'm doing a lot of talking prior to the getting to work part, but this is important. So I tore into it, trying to figure out how to diagnose it. Today we're going to reassemble it. So I took the valve cover off, and this lifter was dangling. And so we had the valve, or the push rod in there, like that, like it was supposed to be. And when I went to take it out, it wouldn't come out. It was stuck. So I took the head off. That wasn't important. I didn't need to take the head off, but I took it off to see if there was something jamming it up in there, because I didn't really want to tear into the engine just yet. But that wasn't it. So I ended up taking the top off the engine, and we had a bent push rod. So you can see this one's straight, this one's bent. So it was stuck inside the engine and wouldn't come out. And there wasn't enough room to take it the other direction, so I had to cut it to get it out of the engine. That's why it's cut. So the cut was me, but the bend was from the engine. So got to investigating, and what it was is this flapper. So as the cam turns, it pushes that gate back and forth, which pushes the push rod back and forth. So the cam is oval, not oval, but lobed. So you can see it's lobed. And when the gate had fallen off, there was nothing to protect the push rod. So the lobe on the cam just popped it off. So the lobe pushes it in this way, and then the spring from the valve pushes it back. The problem was this hole that this came out of had been egg-shaped. It was oval. So what happened was this bolt came loose, started vibrating, and made the hole way too big. So I'm not going to tell you how I fixed it. There are a variety of ways you could fix it. You could weld the hole, tap it, JB weld it. What else? Maybe somehow thread a bolt down through it, you know, drill a hole all the way through it and thread a bolt through it. There's a lot of ways you could do it. I'm not going to tell you my method. Find the method that works best for you. I went to reassemble it, and then I was beginning to realize somebody has been into this engine, and there was a lot of things wrong with it. So for example, the compression relief here, this is what allows you to turn the engine. So this stays in, and when it stays in, this right here bumps that gate that I just showed you. It bumps it. That way you get a little bit of compression. That way you can turn the key and it'll turn, and as centrifugal force builds up, it'll swing this gate out of the way, and I'll show you. It'll swing the gate out of the way, and then that makes it flat. So now there's no bump and you get full compression. In order for this gate to come back after you shut off the engine, there's got to be a spring here, but there's no spring, and it wasn't in the engine. The gate wasn't down in the oil, but this was not. So I had to order a spring for it. So we got the spring here. Another thing I noticed is the cam is identical to this cam. Now, when I got the engine, I just want to be clear, when I got the engine, this cam was over here. I switched them. And the reason I switched them is this piece of plastic is broke. Well, that piece of plastic is important to stop the compression relief from going too far. It stops right there. It's probably how they lost the spring. There's been a few other indicators that people have been in this engine, but one of them was the governor was completely upside down. So this, which is part of the governor, you can see I'm pushing, and that was underneath the camshaft. It has to be out here so the governor cam can push this down. The carburetor was also broke. The choke was broke, so I replaced the carburetor. Okay, and then there was one other indication. These washers are supposed to go on top of this cam. Now, it depends on where you look as to where they're supposed to go. The diagram from Kohler says both of these go, one of these goes on one cam and the other one goes on the other cam. Like that. YouTube videos though will say that they both go here. So I'm going to do it like the diagram. I'm going to do it like this. However, so when I tore it apart, one of them was here and the other one was here, which is wrong. I mean, that's completely wrong. You may see a little pin come out of there. It's on both sides to actuality. That pin is supposed to go inside the cam here. So if you have a washer there, that doesn't work. So we're going to put this back together today, get it started. Okay, so now we're going to put the spring onto the compression relief. Okay, that was interesting. I had to put an extra loop in the spring, but it comes back now. So now we'll get to the, you see the relief there, it snaps back on its own. Okay, so there are timing marks on the crankshaft. So you'll see a mark here and a mark right here. And then you'll see a mark on the camshaft also. So there's a mark right there and it says IN. And then on the other side, you'll see a mark. It'll say IN, but it also has EX, because this one has EX. So they're both the same, they're the same part number. So what you want to do when you put these in, these are timing marks. So you want to line up your intake. This is the carburetor side, so that's your intake. And your exhaust side, EX, so IN for intake, EX for exhaust. And then we're going to try to line up our pins here. And so we line up those timing marks. This one we're going to do exhaust. And you'll see that it'll fit right in there. And then we got to make sure that those pins went into the cam. Okay, so now we're going to put a gasket on. Now I've cleaned the gasket off, the old gasket off. I cleaned out the sump also. I should have mentioned all that. Let's see. There we go. There's two guide pins right here. Okay, so I'm going to put my washers on. And then we're going to put the cover on. We'll put some WD-40 on it. I'm not going to replace the seal because it's a top seal and those don't usually go bad. Turn the crank, see if that helps us drop it on there. Okay, so I'm lightly tapping. Okay, so we got the cover on now. I also traced out the wiring a little bit. And we're going to put the bolts back in. Now, on this Kohler, it's called a bucket engine, and I think it's a Kohler Courage. Let me check to make sure that's what it is. Kohler Courage. These bolts that hold this on are notorious for coming out. And they'll come up and hit the flywheel, and then it cracks everything. So we're going to clean the bolts real good. and put thread locks on it. This will get the oil off of them. Okay, so I'm going to clean this off a bit so we can get the flywheel on. Okay, so the next thing we got to do is put the stator and the flywheel on. But before we get to that, I want to show you that this I had to repair. And a lot of people will do this. The magnets came off, the two magnets came off and were stuck to the stator, and the stator was completely wore from where it had rubbed. So I decided to go ahead and replace it instead of risking it. So I repaired the flywheel, which I've done before on my personal lawnmower, and it works fine. And so then I also bought a new stator. Put some Loctite on these also. And then we'll replace it. I took this bolt out so because it's got the clamp on there. I don't know where I left off on the camera, but we have our key here, so we'll have to line up our flywheel with that key. Okay, so I put a little grease in there, and I forgot to turn the camera on to show you how to do it, but you just stick a little grease in there. That should hold it in a little bit better. There it went. See, now it holds it. Okay, when you put this on, this is the fan. You're going to put it over this magnet. And then you got to line up these tabs here with these holes. Okay, and then we're going to put our bolt in, but I'm going to Loctite that also. Okay, so now we'll put the ignition coil on. Okay, so I'm going to hold it back. I'm going to tighten these down. And we're going to turn this magnet in front of it. Put a 10 thousandths feeler gauge in there, or you can use a business card. And then we'll loosen it, and then the magnet will draw that ignition coil back in. Okay, so now we'll put the starter in. I've plugged the wire into the voltage regulator from the stator. I did that off camera. It's not that big of a deal. Try not to bore you with all the little details on this job. Okay, so now we'll put the push rods and the lifters and everything in the appropriate spots. Okay, so we got our new push rod. Okay, so then we'll turn the engine until one of them's all the way in and the other one's all the way out. So there's one in. I'm going to turn it just to be sure everything's working. Yep, everything's working. Going to keep turning. See, there was the bump. I don't know if you saw the bump, but there was a bump. That's good. That one's coming in. This one's out. We'll adjust this to 4 to 7. There, 4 goes in. Tighten it up. So we're going to hold the nut, and then we'll tighten the torque screw. That works. That's it. And then we'll turn it until this one comes up and that other one goes down. See, that one's going in. Put a 4 in there. Seven. Then I'll put the cover on, but I'm not going to do that on camera. I've got a gasket. This is an old gasket. I'll put a new one in. Okay, so I had to hook up the throttle linkage, but I forgot to hit the button on my camera. That always happens, seems like in every video now. But this also regulates the governor, so you can adjust the governor this way, and all you got to do is just slide this back and forth. Loosen the bolts and slide it. But I think I got it. Everything seems to be working. And the governor doesn't appear to be jammed up. The choke here, let's see, it seems to be working. So we'll continue on. I'm going to hook up the gas line, put some gas in it, and change the oil, but I'm not going to do that on camera, or change the oil filter and put some oil into it. I think it sounds absolutely fantastic. So I'll get the rest of it buttoned up. I still have a few days with this. If you'll click this up next box, it'll take you to a video where I was working on something. So I hope this video helps you work on your equipment under the shade tree. Thanks for watching.